What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Imperfect Swing Golf Podcast. Today we're trying something a little different. We have a returning guest, Rourke van der Spuy. We actually we've been a bit brave this morning, to say the least.
To say the least, that's an understatement, but yeah.
Coldest day so far in Johannesburg this winter. Rourke, thanks for joining us. We starting a series called Range RATZ, so we're joining golfers on the range, kind of picking their brains. We've got the TrackMan running, so you can see some of Rourke's distances as well. But Rourke, thanks for coming. It's good to say that you're returning as a winner on the Sunshine Tour.
Yeah, always nice, especially recent winner, so it's fresh in the mind. But yeah, thank you for having me on the installment. Looking forward to this Range RATZ idea, and and for getting me out of bed this morning as well. So
yeah, it was a bit challenging too.
Yeah.
It was more like the 5 minutes turned into 10 minutes from now, 10 minutes.
But we made it though. We made it.
Quite a coincidence that we did our first podcast at the SA Open at Sun City, and it didn't really click until we chatted the other day that you got your win at Sun City. It didn't really click for me. So nice for you to get the win, and especially on a track. I mean, you've said that you like, and you guys get to play it so often now, but you have said that you like that track.
Yeah, Sun City, it's been sticking with me for a few years now, I guess, and we play there so many times a year, so it's become a course where, you know, either you figure it out or you don't, and I've been fortunate enough to have some really good vibes out there. It's funny you mentioned that as well. Right after my win, my dad sent me our previous podcast, and he was like, listen to this, have a think about what you said and where you're at now. And so much of it kind of was relatable and turned over into that win. And the mind frame from that week, 6-7 months ago almost, to kind of last week when I won, it was, you know, so many things were relatable. So it was nice to reflect on that.
What would you say for you? I mean, golfers we so meticulous and we work on our game continuously. What have you been working on, as you start hitting some balls? I mean, what has changed really from that 6 months ago when we last chatted?
Yeah, I think 6 months ago, the work that I'd done with Sean Coetzee for about a year before that was kind of starting to peak.
Yeah.
So it's always nice to kind of, when you're working on your swing, to start testing it in tournaments. And kind of around that SA Open was a bit of a breakthrough for me. I finished top 20 that week after a pretty dismal start. I think I had 75 on the first day.
I was going to say, I think you went almost 10 under in the last 3 rounds.
In the last 3 rounds or something. So then I think I backed it up with a bogey-free round on Friday and Saturday. Yeah. So like, to have that momentum switch and actually put the hard work into a result, obviously the results are what we kind of cling on to. It's all kind of fairyland world when you're doing the work if you're not getting the results. So from that first result, it kind of, I was able to put together a few cuts. I think I'm on about 11 in a row now as well. So building that cut streak also shows that your game is close.
Because you went through a stretch where you were missing by 1, missing by 2.
Exactly, and missing 9-10 cuts in a row at that point as well. So it kind of, once that flipped, then you kind of start seeing the confidence start building once the results start coming, I guess.
Yeah, I remember, it's so funny. I think it was Sunbet last year when Alex Heindel won.
Yeah, also Sun City, right?
Yeah, Sun City. And then I think you made the cut there. Yeah. But it was like your first cut in a while.
It was the breakthrough basically. Yeah. I think it was the first week I had Jacob on my bag as well. So it was kind of like the start for us was, literally from Sun City, doing a full 360 and then ending up back there. So nice. It's a good place for me.
You got what, sandwich?
I've got a sandwich. Yeah, let's keep the bones warm, eh?
Pretty good. How important is I suppose the wedge aspect? I mean, we've kind of seen it now recently with, you have like your Lynn Grant who destroyed on the DP World Tour last week.
Very impressively.
I think it's understated, the driving aspect. Everyone hits it fairly long these days, I would say, especially in the men's game. Like, you hit it average, but it's long. You know what I mean?
Enough, for me.
That you're hitting wedges in. Like, how much work do you spend, or how much time do you spend working on wedges and kind of finessing and having your go-to distances, knowing I hit it this far when I swing it that length.
Yeah, very relatable. I think within the first month of when I started with Sean again, I mean, he's been working with a clock system with his players for a while.
Yeah.
So within the first month, we were dialing in those distances once I'd kind of figured out where the swing path and plane was going to be. And just like you say, I mean, it's for me, I work on a position. I've got 4 positions, I guess. You've got your full position at the top.
Yeah.
Then I work one down to a shoulder position for me, which is almost a 3/4. Then I work into a rib position, which will be between my hips and my shoulders. So I got a rib position. And then lastly, a little hip position, which is almost like a there, pause. And yeah, the results have been great with that.
You still keep, so it's a funny thing. I think players, well, amateurs in general, we'll almost feel like if we have a finicky distance, we'll swing it slower.
Yes.
For you, when you're doing the clock method, you still accelerate the same.
100%. It's a full finish. It's a full acceleration from every single position.
Okay.
So, and that's the key with that, is by keeping the speed consistent and full.
That's how you replicate.
That you can actually replicate. So instead of then, if I want to take distance off, then I'll move from top of the grip to 1-2 inches down. That also takes off between 3 and 10 yards sometimes, and also opening and closing the face. So.
And that comes feel, but
exactly.
I mean, you got to know. It's something you build and you know.
100%. So I mean, I've got my distances that I keep with me in my notebook as well. So like for me, the hip position with my lob wedge goes around 60 to 62 yards on average. But if I open the face, then I know I can hit it 55 as an example, or grip down. If I don't want it to be softer, I can grip down and hit the 55 shot with the same position. So that's kind of where, again, front flag, back flag is. If it's a 62 pitch or a 60 pitch, where do you want the ball to react after that as well?
Exactly.
But yeah, speed is key though. Got to keep the speed up.
You've got sandwich there.
I do.
Let's go full sandwich. Let's see.
Full sandwich. It's a little flary and weak.
It's fair to say we're working with a off the left wind, yeah?
You've got me on a good day to work on my fade. It's been 18 months of working on the fade, and
how far would you say that went? Let's see.
Is it calibrated for the balls and stuff like that? What are we working with?
Yeah, so we're working on, just check here, limited distance softball.
So if I had to guess, probably somewhere between maybe 80 and 90 yards or meters, I guess, on this side.
95 meters.
95 meters, okay. So that
actually, no, that was optimized. 82 meters.
82,
pure
95.
Carry, yeah.
Okay. So optimized would have been
95.
Is that if I was playing my normal ball and
yeah.
stuff? So this club normally goes between 105 and 110 for me on a nice warm hot day, which is why I figured that came off about 10, 20 shorter.
Yeah. Okay, so another full one.
A little bit higher launch. Probably went pretty similar, maybe a touch further than the last one. It's a slightly better contact.
87.
Compared to 82?
Yeah.
There we go.
Playing Sun City for you, I mean, you obviously have good vibes there. If I'm not mistaken, did they play it NGC way around? Finish on par 4?
Back to the original layout, yeah.
How was that? Because you guys were so used to finishing on par 5.
Yeah.
Was that a bit of a... So for me personally, I like the finish on the par 5, but I almost feel like I mean, 8 is a beast.
8 is an absolute beast.
So I almost feel like the nervier finish is on that side.
Yeah, I mean, I think flip a coin almost. I think they both have their, I mean, like if you had to compare 7 as the par 3 to 16, pretty similar holes depending on the wind. To me, I find 7 a tougher hole than 16. I think it's just for a fader of the ball, that kind of, you got the trees on the left there.
The way the green sits.
It
doesn't really make it like, you don't see the green, right? Like you're kind of just seeing a bit of it.
Exactly.
And then versus like 16, you can see everything. Like you're literally seeing your landing spot, you're seeing the bunker.
The whole green sits like that. You can play middle green and be safe.
So that's why I always feel like 7, 8, 9, like it's a tricky finish.
A lot more can happen, and then 17 as well. It's a brilliant hole, 17. It's a hole that if you hit 2 good shots, you can make a birdie.
Exactly.
But again,
I almost feel like over
time,
time, it's kind of become, I don't want to say and sound disrespectful, but I mean, guys, you're hitting wedges in there. Like,
exactly.
Let's not kid ourselves.
And you've got a bit of space on the right. You can fly those
flying
bunkers,
the bunkers
for the most
now,
of the guys.
like,
So you're
I
right.
mean, back in the day watching NGC, like, that looked like a beast.
It was, yeah. And they've got that tee box on the left that they don't use as often as they could have. But again, I think even from that angle, you can still fly bunkers from most of the time, yeah. So if you had to compare 8 to 17, again, I think 8 takes the cake there for a pressure shot.
Tougher.
Yeah.
And I mean, there you can make a number.
Exactly. You feel like that hole can never end sometimes, because even if you get your drive away, you've still got that uphill approach to a blind green. It's a proper hole, that, yeah.
What would you say was the turning point for you there?
On that course?
Yeah.
I had a moment on 14, the par 5. I was kind of in cruise mode up until 14. Then we had a bit of a wait on the tee box, and I hit my worst drive of the week there. I actually just blew it right, high, big push fade almost. Lucky it caught the corner. That's a scary thing to see around that course. Exactly. So it's like one that kind of comes out and you're like, ooh, that hasn't been out here all week.
Yeah.
Now I've still got to hit the tee shot on 15. That was immediately my thought. So I made a good 6 on 14, kind of settled the ship a bit. And then really knuckled down on that tee shot on 15. Also a hole that doesn't suit me with my fade.
Yeah.
And I probably had one of my best drives of the week there, just straight over that bunker, down the middle, and that kind of settled the nerves again. So that was a big moment for me.
You know, it's always fair. It's like a funny thing to say. Short memory, like goldfish vibes. Like golfers need to have the memory of a goldfish. When you hit a bad shot, you kind of, it's tough to put it out of your mind, like, in all honesty.
Yeah.
How do you course correct? Like, you hit a flare out right shot. What's the next? What did you do to make sure you didn't hit that shot again? Because it's all fair to say, like, no, stick to your process, but you do something intentionally to not do it again. Right?
I think it starts with your self-talk, basically. I've been working on that quite a lot as well. So again, Jacob in that moment is also instrumental to me, because when I hit that shot in practice rounds or in tournaments or whatever, mostly the feel is that I lose my transition, basically. I just get a little bit too quick, everything opens up, and then everything's late and open. So he was immediate to say, listen, next hole, but focus on your transition, like we have been. That's been our trigger word all week. And then also reminding yourself, at that point I was about 6 or 7 under maybe for the tournament, still with a 2-shot lead roughly or something like that. So to tell yourself, listen, you're leading this tournament, you're still playing good golf, you're allowed to have one bad swing. So the self-talk is big in that moment. You kind of got to convince yourself, like, you're here because you know what you're doing. Let's go back and trust it again. Transition was a big thing for me on the next tee shot. Stuff that I'd been working on for a long time that gave me that comfortable ability to trust it again. So self-talk was massive.
Yeah, and you mentioned the role that Jakes plays. It's a funny thing, like, a lot of amateur golfers will come into the game, turn pro at a young age, and you've built these relationships with your friends and family members, and it's so easy to get them on the bag. And in some cases, in all honesty, some players prefer to keep that money within the family, like within your circle, and that's fine. But how important is it? You've seen the fruits of having. Jakes has been around the block. Like, he's won on the DP World Tour. He's caddied for some proper players. How important is that aspect?
I think it's ultimately it's a trust factor. He trusts me with his whole heart, and for me to say that about him is kind of where it's at. I trust him as well. He's been there from the start. He's seen me build my game from when I was struggling to when I kind of figured it all out again and started my new process.
It's so funny, whenever I see him, he's like, he's close. And I'm like, because I know you close, like, we know each other for a long time now. He's like, he's so close. And I'm like, the fact that he's saying that, it's like he has full, like you mentioned, full trust.
Trust, exactly so. And Jakes is a player himself, he plays off a single figure, he's been a scratch and an ex-pro himself. So, the fact that he knows the game beyond just from a surface level, when he knows that coming down 17, it's a big moment in that tournament, what to say, how to say it. So, that whole side to it, it's a full-on relationship. And I like what you said as well, like, we were close, and he's been saying that kind of terminology for a long time. Even when I felt like I wasn't close, it was almost like, you know, we are close, we can win, we can do this. And surrounding yourself with people in your team, not just Jacob who wants to win.
Yeah.
My trainer, my personal trainer is the same thing. What's the ultimate goal? We're going to win. We're going to win trophies. When I go to Sean Kutsia and the Institute and all the guys that are practicing there, same thing. Everyone's competing for trophies, you know.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like your mind is always about that next win, that next trophy. So it's a nice mindset for me to start getting back into again, and that's where you can actually build that self-belief. So yeah, we got a nice little challenge actually with our Institute with Sean.
Okay.
The WhatsApp profile picture
whoever wins
is the most recent winner, and we've got amateurs in our Institute, Big Easy Pros, Sunshine Tour Pros. Okay. But whether you win club champs or a DP World Tour event, a trophy is a trophy. So I mean, to get your face on that WhatsApp
you gotta graft.
That honestly was enough motivation in a way. Yeah. Okay. So it makes a big difference. Big difference.
You know, it's funny you mentioned the fact that you haven't felt close at times, and Jakes will feel like you guys are close.
Yeah.
When I ran into you guys at Stella Player Championship at Danefern.
Yeah.
Jakes was telling me something he told you. He was like, you know, I told Rourke, if we just get, you know, it's simple to say, but he's like, if we just shoot 4 under every round, like we in it. You're either going to be top 5.
Yeah.
Or you're going to win.
Yeah.
And that's where it's kind of capitalizing on par 5, right? Like that's almost where, I know it's so easy to say again, but that's your bread and butter in around, like it's almost give me birdies in some cases, depending on a course, right? Like how it plays, but that's what you're looking at. So Jakes is saying, like, if we can shoot and birdie the 4 par 5s, or if it's a par 71, the 3 par 5s, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But the idea is like to have that as your go-to birdies, and then you just hit green and reg on the rest. Like,
and the rest are bonuses, basically.
How has that approach as well, like, been beneficial in a stress-free kind of way as well?
Yeah, I mean, obviously every course is different, so you do have to pay respect to certain courses and certain par 5s. That's hands down. But if you just look at your general stats, your strokes gained, I mean, at the pro level, we are going to make most of our shots up on the par 5. So it's imperative that you take advantage of them, especially if you want to contend for these tournaments. Mark Immelman, my coach from college, always used to say to us when we were at college events, boys, 3s on 3s, 4s on 5s, you're going to be in with a chance this week. And that mentality is kind of carried over into the pro ranks as well. Par 3s normally play tougher for us on tour, especially when they start getting up to 200 meters plus. So yeah, that thought process of 3s on 3s, 4s on 5s, and then the par 4s become the bonus holes in a way.
Well, yeah, it's almost like,
and you can go from there.
Funny enough, like carrying a bag for, you know, Kaz and Lauren on the LET.
Yeah, yeah.
You realize how simple the game can be, but how complicated us as golfers make it sometimes.
Yes, yes.
Like,
immensely so.
Yeah,
immensely
and it's easy to say we overthink things, and you know, golf is an easy game, but it is a simple game. It's just how you interpret it and how you make it out to be.
Yeah.
So sometimes, like, a green and reg, even though it's middle green, it's still a green and reg, right? Like, it's a birdie chance. But we almost get too carried away on target. Like, and I think that's why, like, a Rory McIlroy, we watch him and we're like, the stroke is flawless.
Yeah.
But when you break his round down and you go in detail, sometimes he's hitting a wedge to like 30 foot, and that technically is not great, but he's still putting birdie.
Yeah.
Whereas you try hit it to 5 foot and you're going over the green, and now you're battling for a par.
Yeah.
Where Rory's just 2 putting for par.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, how have you managed expectations of not playing perfect golf all the time?
Yeah, massively so. I think, again, that comes down to a trust factor, though. I think for me, I wrote one of my goals down last year, and that was to be as prepared on the first tee as I felt like I could possibly be. Yeah. And I felt for a few years I would walk on the first tee and I was searching, and that's not a nice place to be in, because you're like, either I haven't done the work or I don't understand my swing enough to kind of really compete in this, and then you're 2 steps behind the field already. So being able to, you know, step on the first tee and go, I'm as prepared as I can be and I'm ready for whatever challenges are going to be thrown at me, that helps with the expectations in a way, because like you say, I mean, if I bring back that shot on the tee shot on 14, I'm allowed to have a bad swing every now
Exactly.
and then, but I am still as prepared as I could have been for that moment. So it helps to deal with the
And you're not a
expectations.
robot.
Exactly. You're not a robot. And then also, if you want to compete on this tour, you got to get your birdie count up, and that was another goal of mine. I was averaging under 3 birdies a round for most of that 2020 season almost, and it's just not enough insurance in the bank to know like I can have one or two swings.
bogeys. Yeah.
You bring your birdie count up, then you know, okay, well, if I make a bogey here, I've still got 2 or 3 birdies out there for the round on average, let alone if I have a good day. So it's like that expectation tying in with your self-belief is kind of where you get that perfect harmony between the two.
You did put a new putter in the bag before this big stretch of events.
Yes, my latest girlfriend, basically.
How did that kind of, in a way, boost your confidence? Because I remember it was like everything switched. Like you went from saying putting alright to I can't miss.
Yeah. That's that moment was almost love at first sight, I think. And when I picked it up at Peakenwood this last year, or last season I should say, it was just immediately a club that I hadn't had a putter in a while that I didn't want to dent or scratch or drop on the floor or have someone else touch. You know, like it felt like, you know,
gold.
This is
It was
personal
gold.
to me now.
Yeah.
And from that first second, having that relationship with the putter was instrumental in making some changes on the results side, for sure.
What would you say? You know, putting is the where they always say drive for show, putt for dough. How important is it to build that trust with that club specifically? Because I feel like we overlook it and we overstate it that drive for show, putt for dough, but how much of it is actually just trusting your stroke with that putter?
It's the most important club in the bag. I mean, hands down. I mean, there's not many people that are going to hit any other club in their bag more than they hit their putter in any round of golf. You know, like, so you really do have to show attention to that putter. I was lucky enough as well to do some putter fitting just after I picked it up to kind of get it fine-tuned exactly for
what changes
style.
did you make?
We tweaked with the loft and lie fractionally, but then we also just made sure that the length was perfect for me, because I was doubting that at first. But once we did the whole putter fitting, kind of just having that reassurance, like, no, this is actually set up perfectly for you now, and with that confidence, then everything else can come through. Then you can trust your stroke, trust your stuff that you're working on. But yeah, getting a putter fitting was also, you know,
I don't think many players actually do that, to be honest.
Yeah, especially at the amateur level. I mean, even at the pro level, you're quite right. I mean, it's
almost like you find something that looks nice and you're like, oh, okay, we'll make it work. And then, I mean, you have a average day of putting and you barely think about, I know it's easy to blame something, but you don't think I should go for a fitting.
Yeah.
Like, that's the last thing on your mind. You almost think, I've got to go on a Visio pad or a mat and kind of start looking for something.
So
but maybe it's just the thing's not really fitted for you.
Yeah. So if something's not set up for you, you're going to have those misses that might just confuse you a little bit.
Exactly.
And you're like, that felt like a good stroke, but something in the putter's not working. Whereas if you have that complete trust in your game and you feel as prepared as you can be with your club, you know, okay, the club is doing everything as planned. Now I can actually focus on, it must be technique or alignment or whatever else it might be as well. So it all ties in together at the end of the day.
And we talk about your patch where you weren't, let's call it in form, right?
Yeah.
Where, I mean, the game gets dark when you're struggling, when you're missing cuts, when you're searching on the first tee, like you mentioned.
Yep.
What was the change? I mean, I know you've changed coaches, you've obviously got Jakes in the bag at that point, but in that dark period, how dark is it really, mentally especially?
Yeah,
because I mean I remember chatting to Esther at a point and it was like he's searching, like he doesn't know where he's at really.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, it's a game of ups and downs as well. I mean, golf it's not just a marathon within the round and within the tournament and within the season. It's a marathon for the whole career. Your body changes, you become a different person mentally, you see the world differently, your relationships change. So you're constantly having to, you know, manage those expectations outside of golf and align them with your golf. And when you're in that muddle and that, you know, that dark place like you talk about, it's rough because, you know, at the end of the day, you've got families and lives to support. And if what you're doing on the range and on the course isn't, you know,
materializing
fixing
into
those
something,
things, then you start thinking, you know, outside of golf and what's
Yeah.
next, and is golf for me? So I mean, yeah, you kind of go through those patches, and I'm sure even some of the best golfers in the world deal with that. So yeah, to really bring myself out of that dark patch, I literally had to just scrap all the notebooks and literally put a blank piece of paper together again and build off of the good things that I had in the past, but literally start from step one, build my processes again, and kind of rebuild the entire program. And that's what I did basically.
And it's funny you say that. I mean, you've won on the Sunshine Tour, so you're a certified winner, right? Like, you have the trophies to back it up.
Yeah.
But it's just evident to say that no matter who you are, like, it's there, right? Like, it can happen.
Yeah.
So going back and you know, scratching everything, how different did you feel as a golfer? Did you feel like you evolved beyond, like, if you look back at what you were when you won, was it in Zambia?
Zambia.
And winning now, what changed as Rourke? Like, what would you say? You still more or less the same, or did you feel like you found a different side of you going through the darkness?
Yeah, I don't think if you compare the two wins, like the moment in Zambia and the moment in Sun City,
Yeah.
very, very similar.
Okay.
Same euphoric highs, same Rourke, the same person that was there. I think what happens is that during the dark patches, you actually lose who you were during that patches. So I don't know if you necessarily become a completely different person. It's just a matter of, you know, in those dips, the self-doubt, the non-belief comes in, the unpreparedness, all those things kind of start culminating. And that's where those dark patches come. But I mean, I remember coming down the stretch at Sun City now and really actually, you know, thinking and trying to feel the same emotions that I felt in Zambia when I was battling it out against Harding. And yeah, very similar things occurred. I made a good 3 on 17 as well to kind of give me that buffer. Same thing happened in Nkana when I won there. I had the eagle on 17, which kind of gave me that little buffer. So like, being able to tap into those good memories are still important. But yeah, as a person, as a golfer, sure, the golf game might have changed a bit, but Rourke is still on a journey where I'm still myself throughout the process, I guess.
And you're kind of just you're adding to Rourke as you...
Exactly. So yeah, the good moments are comparable, the dark moments are what happens in between, basically.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's just like it adds to your arsenal, like, you know what it's like.
Yeah, exactly. So you're trying to find yourself again through those dark moments, and then when you do find yourself, then the light can shine, and you know, like you say, for me, it's Rourke can come through and play 100%. My best golf, basically.
It's funny, golf is in a funny space right now. You know, we've seen the noise that something like...
I've hardly heard. What's going on?
What are you talking about? We've seen, you know, LIV Golf come into to play. Good old Greg Norman.
Mm-hmm.
What's your, as a Sunshine, well, as a professional golfer, what's your initial reception to the first event?
Yeah, for someone like me, I guess, who's not particularly on the PGA Tour, which is, you know, the main tour right now, I think it's quite an exciting time for us. Obviously, a lot of South Africans were represented in the first LIV tournament. For me, conceptually, I love the idea, I love the viewership, I love the attraction for the fans. I think it's, like I've said to many people, it seems like the T20 version of golf from an entertainment factor, and if they can get that right, I think there's a huge market for it. Obviously, from the player standpoint, the money is the big grabbing pool.
It almost feels like it's too much.
Exactly. I think they've been slightly overvalued, but you know, to take their position and enter the market, they had to do something drastic. So
it's a bit funny how the PGA Tour was moving to this money craze. Everything was increasing. Yes, it's cold. Everything is increasing. I mean, they introduced that PIP for like basically tweeting and Instagramming for golfers. So it's a bit ironic that they get outed by someone who can put more money on the table.
Exactly. I think if you really had to open up this can of worms, you could go down a very long rabbit hole of who does this and does what, and where, you know, how much money is too much, how much isn't enough. So I mean, yeah, it's definitely going to be an exciting time for golf and see what the future holds. But in a perfect world, I would love to see all the tours running congruently together and having a place for LIV tournaments, still having your PGA Tour and your majors and all of that as well. So I mean, yeah, I think it's going to be exciting over the next few years to see what can and potentially could happen from that different sides.
And I think what's the funny thing is how there's a bit of controversy. Obviously, the money's coming where the money here is coming directly, if I'm not mistaken, from the Saudi government.
From their fund, yeah.
From their funding system, or I think that's maybe where people are seeing the fact that, oh, this is like directly tied to what they do as an organization, as a government, and the stuff that they're involved in. But it doesn't help from the PGA perspective that they've sanctioned events there before.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
It's almost like they've shot themselves in the foot a little bit from, like, now they're coming from a hypocritical point of view now.
Yeah, you just want consistency. That's all you want, exactly.
Do you think it would be better received if players were just like, listen, I'm just in it for the money? You think that's where people are like, the whole thing of like, it's growing the game, it's getting like, it's almost a little staged in a way, like just say that the money's good and I'm playing for the money?
Sure, I think they probably all agree with that to some extent, because I mean, you can't deny the fact that the money's there. But if you had asked that question 10 years ago about the players on the PGA Tour, you can run the exact same, you know, agenda or plan or whatever you want to call it. So everyone is ultimately in it for the money, and that's why the PGA Tour has had the best golfers playing on their tour for decades and decades now. It's because
the money's better than European.
The money attracts the players, and the better players come, then you get more world ranking points. So I think the big question really is coming down to the world ranking points. If the LIV Tour can start getting official ranking points, then it might be a completely different ball game, because then the guys can, sure, the money's attractive, but you know, if you can back that up with world ranking points and get into the majors on another level or another platform, then there's not much that's going to be stopping the guys. So yeah, there's a whole lot of motion in the ocean that's going on, which is a
can of worms.
Yeah, a can of worms if you must. So, but I'm excited though, I really am. I think it's something that golf might have needed for a long time.
If anything, it could influence other tours to start putting in a bit more money in general on their tours.
Exactly. And mixing up the formats a bit. I mean, I think golf traditionally is always going to be golf, 72-hole stroke play, pick up and start on Thursday, finish up on the Sunday. But in between those weeks, and from an entertainment package type thing for viewers, mixing up with the format is going to be also exciting. The team element is exciting. I mean, the mixed gender, the mixed gender games that have been happening. I mean, we've already had world match play events and stuff like that. But I mean, there's so many different ways to play golf that amateurs and your club professional, your club members all play at different weeks. You know, Stableford, you've got team events, you've got scrambled drives. So I mean, I think the LIV Tour with their model can really throw a shake in the works and make golf exciting if they wanted it to as well.
Closing off, I don't know if you saw the snippet I had on Instagram with Lynn. She says that you've got to be able to tell yourself what you want to accomplish and believe in it fully. So when I ask you, Rourke, and you can be honest with me, I hope you are going to be honest with me.
I would love to be honest with you.
If I ask you now, do you think you'll win a major in your career? What's your answer?
Do I think I will win a major in my career? That's a really good question, because it's a different question to do I want to or do I believe that I can.
When I say think, I mean, do you believe? Like,
do I believe? I believe I have the game to win a major. I think the first step is obviously getting world ranking points and to a position where I could actually really truly believe that. So as a long-term goal, I have to say yes, absolutely believe that I can win a major.
It's almost like you just got to get there.
But where I am right now, I'm still at, the second rung of a 12-rung ladder basically, and that's just coming through sunshine to a side. So yeah, ultimately majors are what drives us. I don't think I'd be playing professional golf in South Africa if I didn't believe that I could, compete in majors one day. But yeah, the focus right now is short term, go through the rungs of the ladder, and then that should all take care of itself once you get those opportunities. So yeah, long term, absolutely. I don't think I'm running out of years yet. So.
No, I think you're still on the good side
still feel young enough.
Good side of the clock. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
With that being said, Rourke, thanks for coming on again. A little different, a little colder, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's been good to see you finally get back to where it's almost like you've climbed the ladder again, and you've basically earned it. You know, it's a bit. It feels a bit more earned than previously, and I think also in the season that it's been already, where there's so many first time winners. Like, for you to get it done. So many young guns coming. Coming for the wins.
Even last week they backed it up again with Dylan winning.
So I suppose for you it also just feels good. So thanks for making time as always. It's always good chatting.
Absolute pleasure. I'm looking forward to it, and certainly
I suppose
some more shots
we'll have
as well.
to do another one when you get your next win. So pretty soon, I guess.
Put me down for about August then, I think.
August, and then again in December.
Hopefully we'll be here many times.